Short stories, worth writing? Yes or no? Hello and welcome back to my writing journey. I'm Ellen Byerrum, author of The Crime of Fashion Mysteries and my recently published book, Crook Tales for Two. Today, I'm not thinking about novels. Today's subject is short stories. Why? To my great surprise, I've written a draft of a new short story. I often think planning a short story is almost as time-consuming as a full-length book. But this story was easier and came more quickly than I anticipated. I was spurred on by the opportunity to submit to an anthology and use an idea that had been sitting on the back burner of my brain, a story I'd been thinking about for a while, a story whose time had come. I began to write. I also needed a palate cleanser in between books. Sometimes a short story feels like progress when you're bogged down in novel land, and maybe I wanted a challenge to stretch a few writing muscles. Those were my reasons for this one. And there's an anthology I wanted to submit to. Much of the time, for me, many anthologies' rules feel too narrow, too specific, or they require subject matter about which I don't care or know. For instance, I'll never write about Wall Street or playing soccer or making wine. I'll never create a mystery around food. Some anthology requirements remind me of those narrowly prescribed play competitions. As an example, they have to feature a short-order cook who raises peregrine falcons and is a part-time lovelorn columnist who solves murders on the side and resides in Albania. But this new anthology subject matter is broad enough to interest me. It opens up a lot of possibilities. That does not mean, of course, that my particular story will interest them or be chosen, and I'm pretty sure my chances are slim. But let's talk about short stories. Above all, I believe most successful short story writers have a talent, a knack to write them. Some people write short stories, some people write novels, and some people write both. And people choose the short form for several reasons. Some people think they're writing it for profit, or the experience or the chance at getting published for a writing credit to add to their resume, to prove they can do it. And of course, they may have that particular talent. My thoughts? Don't do it for profit. If you're lucky, you might make some pocket change. Now, once upon a time in the golden age of magazines, a writer could live on producing short stories, like F. Scott Fitzgerald. Magazines paid real money for them. During the Depression and beyond, you could sell a handful of stories and live for a year. There was a huge market for short stories. Not just the pulp magazines, multiple stories appeared in general interest magazines each month or week, such as McCall's or the Saturday Evening Post, which could feature 6 or 7 or more short stories at one time. Wrap your brain around that. This, of course, was pre-television and computer screens, and to my sorrow, there are fewer and fewer magazines on the stands. I have always been a magazine junkie. Now, I find writing short stories to be a considerable challenge. To my surprise, some people really can crank them out and have written hundreds and hundreds of this short form fiction. And I do hate the expression crank them out because it suggests something akin to making sausage. And it takes more than sausage to write a short story. And there are stories about writers like Shirley Jackson, her productivity and process. She wrote domestic horror stories like The Lottery and more lighthearted pieces for ladies' magazines. One Jackson anecdote reported that she had people over for dinner one evening when her creative light bulb went off. She excused herself, traveled to her typewriter where she tapped out a story, finished the draft, and returned to her guests. So either the idea was very compelling, or her guests were not. I would love to see the reaction on people's faces. I said, "Excuse me, I have to go write a story." When I think about what makes a successful short story these days, I compare it to a good one-act play. They don't have room for a lot of subplot action. As a long-form writer, I have to fight the urge to throw in more subplot and characters. Writing short stories begins with the setup, introducing the characters and hint at where it's going. where the action may be headed, as well as setting the tone. It might be humorous, suspenseful, sad, or a dozen other emotions. The setup is followed by rising action, the climax, and resolution. And let's not forget to include pithy and insightful dialogue to help get you there. Yet to my mind, the most successful short stories and plays have a twist or a surprise at the end. I suppose that sometimes the surprise can be that there is no surprise and you've been fooled into thinking there was going to be one. In my new short story, I had the storyline down, but wondered if I could find a satisfying turn at the end. As I wrote, I didn't think it would happen. I thought, okay, it's a short story. However, by the time I reached the end of the draft, a nice turn in the writing road appeared to me. I now have an ending that feels both earned and deserved, not to mention a relief. Well begun is half done, but how you end it lets you send it. Now, all I have to do is reread, rewrite, edit it, and polish. Sounds simple, doesn't it? We will see. Chances are that the most finished stories, the ones that feel the easiest, have been polished to a fare thee well and taken quite a bit of effort. If you disagree, please tell me. Or, if you like this video, you can comment and like. If you see it on YouTube, please subscribe and we can explore the writing process together. That's all I have for now. I will be reviewing and rewriting this week, and I will see you next time. Bye.